I will first explain autism. Autism is basically the opposite of empowerment. Sadly, some interpreters look down upon their deaf clients. For example, a deaf client may ask for more facial expressions, for more impact, and the interpreter will look down on that client and oppress that client. That happens often in the deaf culture. It is essential to know why the deaf client intervened during one's interpretation. If there is a hearing person and a deaf person, and then the hearing person makes an interruption of some kind, intervenes during the conversation, either the deaf person makes an interruption or the hearing person intervenes, there's broken communication, and the interpreter must be able to solve this problem. And the interpreter may attempt to intervene and fix the communication error. So it's the interpreter's duty to first understand what the deaf client is trying to convey and then interpret it for the hearing person. Interruption is by no means acceptable for any human being. I would like to emphasize how sometimes interpreters may ask a hearing client to hold and then ask the deaf client to explain further what he was going to convey, and then the interpreter processes the information and conveys it to the hearing client. However, sometimes during a conversation, during an interpretation, there is a mix-up of what is trying to be conveyed, and the interpreter has to pick up the broken pieces. Do you know what the real problem is throughout all of this that's going on? The problem is that most interpreters don't engage in the deaf culture. Interpreters know about other cultures, Spanish cultures and various other cultures, but the deaf culture they don't know much about. They tend to oppress and look down upon the deaf culture. They have a very oppressive attitude to their own consumers. I really would like to emphasize that point about how interpreters impress their own clients. And I've been noticing this oppressive attitude more and more often. And the opposite of autism would be empowerment, and that's what we need, because that's fair and that's equal, and we can have a deeper connection instead of having an imbalance that's not fair and not right. And I know sometimes that when a deaf person is trying to communicate an idea, they can exaggerate and kind of miss the point. But as an interpreter, you need to be able to look at their signs and be able to pick up the message and convey what they want to, what their intention is. The interpreter's job is to mediate communication, to give a clear message to both consumers. If the message seems a little bit muddy and unclear, what does the interpreter tend to do? The interpreter tends to just drop it and move on. In addition, interpreters may pick certain words to voice and certain words to sign, and leave out certain words that the deaf client may feel left out. Once the interpreter picks and chooses what to say and what to sign, the empowerment of the deaf client is being stolen by them, by the interpreters. So I would like to encourage the interpreters to look inside themselves and why do I oppress the deaf and why do I take away their power and their rights? It's very important to do this. All interpreters must do this.